Hi and welcome. Today we are going to do a little, let me make sure that recording is working. Yep, we're going to do some strength and balance, and we're going to get creative using things that you might normally think about in case you happen to have those things in your home, but we're also going to get creative and kind of think outside the box for some ways that we can remain active when we are in our own home if we don't have that equipment. So with that, we will get started. Let me get the music going. Okay, and we want to warm up here. So let's just march in place. You can go as fast or as slow as you need to go or what you want to do today. You can also absolutely march from your chair, just sitting down and just raising your knees. I'll try to remember to show you how everything can actually be done in the chair. So let's stay here for just a few more seconds. Let's take our march out wide. Get the body warmed up here before we start doing a little bit of strength work. Maybe coming back to still. And let's actually take our arms up overhead and let's just do some kind of side knee raises. And again, you can absolutely do this same thing from a chair, just raising your knees out to the side. When you raise your arms up overhead, it does get your heart pumping just a little bit more, kind of getting your heart warmed up and ready for some work. Let's do one more on each side. And then let's bring it back to center. And let's just do some side steps. Kind of stepping out wide. And again, remember, you can absolutely do this at a slow pace. Or if you really want to get the heart pumping, you can go faster. Maybe adding in some movement with the arms. Let's do a couple more in each direction here. And then just coming back to center. Kind of have that chair there for balance in case you need it. And we're just gonna take our legs up behind us now. So still kind of stepping from side to side, but instead of bringing the knees up, we're just kind of kicking back behind us, kind of warming up those knees. You can kind of add in just a little bit of a squat if that feels good. Maybe adding in those arms again. Do one more in each direction. And stop and come back to center. Let's do just some, not deep lunges, just some slight lunges there, just alternating, stepping one foot back behind. Not going too deep here. We're still warming the body up. Do a couple more here and then we'll switch it up just a little bit. And coming back to center, we're going to change that to a curtsy lunge. So kind of taking one foot and just kind of dropping it back behind. Again, not going super deep here. Going nice and slow, making sure your knees should be pointed in the same direction as your toes. And should not be going in front of the toes. You should always be able to look down and see your toes, in other words. Let's do just a couple more on each side. And coming back to standing, let's take our feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart. Keeping that chair there for balance if you need it. And let's just drop down and do some squats. Again, we're not going super low. We're just kind of warming up those knees. Let's do just a couple more. Now let's maybe do just a little bit of kind of gentle stretching. So holding onto your chair for balance. Just do some ankle rolls in one direction. Nice big circles here. And then change directions. Nice big circles. Get those pops and cracks out of there. And bring that foot back down. Let's do the same thing on the other side, just rolling in one direction. I struggle with my left leg more than my right for some reason, especially when I change directions. And coming back to center. Let's maybe just roll the wrists out just a little bit. Moving in one direction and then the other. And let's do some shoulder rolls and then we'll get ready to work. So just take your hands, your fingertips, and place them on your shoulders, keeping your shoulders relaxed down away from your ears. Just think about moving those elbows in nice big circles here, going forward first. Nice big circles, just opening up through the shoulders and the chest. And then let's change directions. One more here. And shake it out just a little bit. Let's make sure you have your chair here for balance. And we're actually just going to kind of, before we get into the work, we're just going to work just a little bit on our balance. So just picking a leg, bending your knee, and bringing that leg out in front of you. And I'm actually going to keep an eye on the time. And if you can, try to let go of that chair, or perhaps maybe just holding on just with a fingertip, just kind of giving that sense of security. Finding something, a fixed object that you can stare at in front of you, so that you can just try to work on that balance. We're going to hold here for about 10 more seconds, and then we're actually going to add just a little bit of movement. Okay, so you just held that for 30 seconds. Now let's just add some movement with that leg. Taking the hip out to the side, maybe straightening the leg out front and then bending it. We're going to do that for 30 more seconds. An added challenge is to take that leg across your body. It just kind of challenges your balance more. We're just going to maybe taking the leg out behind. Just really challenging our balance here. And bring that foot back down to the floor. Maybe roll the ankle out on that standing leg and then move to the other side of your chair. So it's there for balance if you need it. And we're just going to take that opposite knee up front, finding an object just to fix our gaze, something preferably that doesn't move. And we're just going to hold this for about 30 seconds. This is working on balance, but it also actually works on those little muscles in your feet and your ankle, as your body, as it's kind of shifting, trying to maintain your balance. And about 5 more seconds. And now let's add just that little bit of movement again. So maybe you're straightening the leg, taking it out to the side, added challenge, taking it across your body. But again, trying to keep your gaze fixed on something that's steady in front of you. Maybe you take it out behind, if you need to, holding onto the chair, or just maybe placing a finger on the chair just to kind of provide a little bit of support there. We've got about 5 more seconds. And coming back to center here. And before we find our seats, let's just, I'm going to turn this down a hair. Let's just do some more on the legs, just a little bit. So standing beside the chair, keeping your leg straight, let's just take And just think about engaging through your hip and just lifting it and holding and lowering it back to the floor. A nice, slow, controlled movement here. Think about exhaling as you lift, inhaling as you lower, really engaging through that hip and that glute. Let's do just a couple more. And on your next one, let's lift and hold. Let's actually do maybe 10 little pulses here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it come back down. Maybe shake that out just a little bit. We're going to do one more on this side and then we'll switch to the other side. Just kind of shaking those legs out just a little bit. Again, using your chair here for balance, or for an added challenge, you can try it without. Let's take that leg behind. So let me turn so you can see. So maybe just your toes on the floor. And on an exhale, let's think about engaging through the glutes in your lower back. And inhale as you lower back down. Exhaling, lift. Inhaling, lower. We'll do a few more here on this side and then we'll switch and do it all again on the other side. Remembering to exhale as you lift, inhaling as you lower. I like to think about the breath when I'm exercising because it's so common to, when you're exerting strength, to kind of hold your breath, and that actually hurts more than helps. Let's do one more here on this side. And coming back down, switching to the other side of your chair. Maybe just kind of shake those legs out just a little bit. And using that chair for balance, let's just take this other leg up to the side. Exhaling as you lift. Inhaling as you lower. Do just a couple more on this side. And on the next one, let's lift that leg and hold. Let's do 10 of those little pulses. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower it back down. I can really feel that in the hips. Shake that out just a little bit. Wiggle it out. And then let's take that leg behind you and turn to the side so you can see better. And on an exhale, think about engaging through your glutes and your lower back, and inhaling as you lower. Exhaling on exertion really almost just breathes into that space and allows you to move just a little bit more. Let's do just one more here. And lowering it back down. Wiggle that out just a little bit. And then let's all find our chairs. You can do this standing if you prefer, although here in a second you are really going to need to sit. So before we get started with our weights and other toys, maybe let's just take a second to just take a nice big breath. Inhale your arms up overhead. And exhaling, let it go. Again, inhaling your arms up overhead, maybe gazing up at the ceiling. Exhaling, let it go. Okay, so we're going to do some upper body work here. So we're going to start with a reverse fly. So we have a couple of different options. If you happen to have weights, so just kind of watch me here for just a second. If you happen to have weights, you're going to take a weight in each hand. You're going to hinge forward slightly at the hips, taking the weights down by your calves. And on an exhale, you're gonna bend the elbows, thinking about squeezing those shoulder blades together, thinking about there being like an orange or a grapefruit back there, and you're squeezing it, just trying to get the juice out of it. So the work here is coming through the back of the shoulders and the upper back. If you do not have weights, or if you prefer, you can use one of these bands. I think pretty much all of us have done physical therapy at some point, and so we have some of these laying around the house. So same thing though, you're going to hinge forward slightly at the hips, taking the band kind of down by your knees, or maybe just out a little bit in front, and you're going to bend those elbows, thinking about engaging through the upper back and the back of the shoulders. You're still squeezing that grapefruit or that orange together. Your hands are about 12 to 18 inches apart on the band to add in enough resistance on there. You're exhaling as you engage and inhaling as you come back to center. In the event that you do not have weights or a band, we're going to get super creative, and we're just going to use, I just got some cans of Campbell's Chunky Soup that I found. They're probably about a pound or so each. It's still something. So same thing though, you're hinging forward at the hips, you're engaging through that upper back, squeezing that orange between your shoulder blades, you're bending the elbows, and you're just bringing them back behind you. So lots of options there. I think I'm going to use some weights. So hinging forward at the hips, we're all going to do the movement the same. It just varies by what toys we're using here. So on an exhale, we're going to squeeze and bring those elbows back, and on an inhale, back down. That's 5. You can move at your own pace, but I'll kind of keep track here, making sure we hit about 10 reps. That's 7, 8, 9, make sure you're not holding your breath, and 10, and coming back down. Maybe from that hinging, maybe just lean forward for just a second, just resting your elbows on your knees, just kind of hanging out there for just a moment to release the pressure in the lower back. And now we're going to do these bow and arrow type moves. A band is the handiest here, so I'll show you how to do it with the band. You're going to have your hands about 12 to 18 inches apart, holding your arms out front of you at shoulder height. And you're actually just going to pull back on that band, kind of thinking about pulling back on a bow and arrow. You can adjust your grip on the band to make more or less resistance. If you do not have a band, we're just going to do the same thing like with these soup cans or some light weights. My weights are kind of too heavy probably for this. Holding them out in front of you and just kind of pulling back. Still the same thing, the same movement you're thinking about like if you were using a bow and arrow. I'm going to use the band here, and let's do 10 on each side. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one on each side, 10. Let's let that band come down. Let's give our arms a break here for just a second. And for those of you that have done my strength and balance class, you know what is about to become next. If you happen to have one of these squishy balls or any kind of a ball, about this size, you can place that between your knees on the fatty part of the legs. If you do not have, just grab a pillow just to have something between the knees. The purpose of that is to, when we're doing this, to keep the knees going forward instead of just coming in on one another, keeping the hips in alignment, the knees, the ankles, just having something in between your knees just kind of helps that. Even a towel rolled up. I happen to have one here. You could even take a towel that's kind of rolled up and just place that in between your knees. That will work as well. If you happen to have a ball, we will put that between our knees here. And on an exhale, we are just going to come forward and stand up about 3/4 of the way. And on an inhale, we're going to sit back down. And we're going to do that about 10 times here. If standing up is just feels like it's not quite possible, you can use your hands here to help just a little bit. I encourage you to try it without. And if that does not work either, you're just going to fake it. Pretend like you're standing up. Engage those muscles as if you are standing up, and that is still going to work all those muscles around the knees and then the hips. So you can still get something from this even if actually coming up is not possible. On this next one, this will be our last one, and we're going to stand up and we're just going to hold this for a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. Shake those legs out. I love that one. Let's see here. Now we're gonna do, we'll leave our legs alone now for a little bit. We're gonna do some bicep curls. And again, you have options here. If you have weights, it's just a simple bicep curl. You can have your as they come back forward. That's 3. We're going to go to 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 more, 8, 9, last one, 10. And let that go. Let the band maybe drop a clock across your lap. We're going to do those bow and arrows again, remembering all your different options. You can absolutely have the soup cans out front, light weights if you have light weights. Mine are a little bit too heavy for me to do for this one. I could do it, but I would be straining and that wouldn't be pretty on video. So I'm gonna use the band here. Just holding that out in front, hands about shoulder width apart, and on an exhale, I'm just going to pull back on that band, thinking about getting ready to fire off that bow and arrow. That's 1. We're going to go to 10 here. Exhaling as we pull back, inhaling as it comes back forward. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. 5, halfway done. 6. 7. 8. Just 2 more on each side. 9, last set. And let that band go. Let's actually drop the band or whatever toys you are using down beside you. We're gonna pick up this ball for one more set of these. Remember all the options that are there, the towel, the pillow, placing whatever item you're using in between your legs, above on the fatty part of the area just above the knees. On an exhale, we're just gonna stand up about 3/4 tall, and on an inhale, we're gonna sit back down. Exhaling up, inhaling down. Exhaling up, really use that exhale. Inhaling down. If you exhale on exertion, it really does help. We are halfway done, and we are not going to do these again, I promise. We have 2 more here. And on the next one, we're just gonna squeeze that ball or that pillow or towel, and we're gonna hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it go. That's the last time we're gonna do that one. So put that ball, towel, or pillow to the side, and we just have 2 more exercises and then we will cool down. So we're gonna do another set of the bicep curls. Remember, you have all the options available to you. Using weights, bringing the band underneath your feet for leverage, and bicep curling with that band, using your soup cans, all kinds of options. Sitting up nice and tall in your chair with your shoulders relaxed down away from your ears. We're just gonna curl one at a time. That's 1. We're gonna go to 10 here. 2. Don't forget to breathe. 3. 4. That's 5. We are halfway done. That's 6. 7, 8, just 2 more on each side. 9, last one. And that's it. Shake those arms out just a little bit. We work the front of the arms, now we got to work the back, and this will be our last exercise, and then we'll kind of move into the cool down. So we're going to work our triceps, that little muscle on the back of the arm. Remember, you have all the options there, using weights or canned goods. You just are holding those by your chest, exhaling as you press back, inhaling as they come forward. If you're using the band, you're just kind of wrapping it around one arm, holding one hand up by your chest, the other hand down by your rib cage, and exhaling as you press, inhaling back together. I think I used the band last time. I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to use weights this time. I'm just going to use one at a time so that those people that are using the bands, you can only work one at a time, so we'll all work one at a time together. So hinge forward slightly. Using a weight, doing just one side at a time actually does kind of engage your core a little bit more to kind of to hold yourself steady while you're doing the exercise. So holding however is necessary for how you are going to do this exercise. Let's exhale as we extend and inhale as we come back in. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just 3 more, 8, 9, last one, and bring it in. Maybe shake that side out just a little bit. We're just going to switch and do the same thing on the other side, sitting up nice and tall to start with, hinging forward slightly at the hips. Unless you're using the band, then you want to stay up nice and tall. Bringing that weight up by your chest, exhaling as you extend it behind and inhaling back in. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, halfway done, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. Nice job. And that, my friends, is the end of our work section of the exercises here. So let's just remain in our chairs. We're going to do just some gentle stretching together to kind of cool our bodies down a little bit. Sitting up nice and tall with your shoulders relaxed down away from your ears. Maybe let's just stretch our necks just a little bit. Taking your ear down towards your shoulder. Maybe extending that arm out long, feeling a nice stretch there in your neck. We'll hold that there for a few breaths. And releasing the arm and bringing the head back to center. Let's just take the opposite ear down towards your opposite shoulder, extending that arm out long, feeling a nice stretch in this side of the neck. Hold this side for a couple of breaths. And releasing that arm and bringing the head back up to center. Now let's just, again, sitting up nice and tall, just turn your gaze over your shoulder, keeping your chin parallel to the floor. Bring the head back to center. Let's turn our gaze over the opposite shoulder. Bringing the head back to center. Maybe taking the gaze down, your chin down towards your chest. Might feel good to just kind of roll your head very gently here. And bringing the head back up to center. And then let's just let the weight of your head, not forcing it here at all. Just take your gaze up towards the ceiling. And maybe very, very gently, just kind of rolling your head from side to side, if that feels good. And bringing the head back up to center. Let's do that shoulder stretch, taking one arm across the body, maybe rolling out the wrist here. And let that arm go, and let's just take the opposite arm across the body, keeping the shoulder relaxed down away from the ears. Maybe rolling that wrist out a little bit. And before we move down to stretching our legs, let's take a nice big inhale together, arms up overhead. And as we exhale, let's just take one hand down, kind of holding onto the bottom of the chair and just bending over to the side, getting a nice stretch down your side body. Really opening up through the rib cage, the armpit here. On an inhale, let's bring your arm back up overhead. And on an exhale, let's just bend to the other side, opening up through that side body. Inhaling your arm back up overhead. And on an exhale, let's just gently twist, placing your arm on the out, or your hand on the outside of your knee, maybe one hand on the back of the chair, sitting up nice and tall. Your shoulders are relaxed. They're down away from your ears. Just kind of twisting that spine a little bit. Maybe taking your gaze out over your back shoulder. Unwinding and coming back to center. Let's inhale our arms up overhead. And exhaling, let's just twist in the opposite direction, remembering to sit up tall, maybe even thinking about a string kind of pulling your head up towards the ceiling. Just a nice, gentle twist for that spine. Maybe you take your gaze out over your back shoulder, get a little stretch in the neck at the same time. And unwinding and coming back to center. Let's stretch those legs just a little bit, maybe moving more towards the edge of your chair. Extending one leg out straight in front of you, kind of thinking about really flexing that foot, and boy, my foot looks big on the video, and bringing those toes back towards your face. And let's just stretch down, lean down, feeling a nice stretch down the whole back side of the leg. Maybe it feels good to kind of hang out here with your elbow resting on your knee. If you're looking for a little bit more of a stretch, you can kind of release down, let your hands rest on the floor, maybe let your head be heavy. We'll hang out here for a few breaths, getting a nice stretch down the back side of that leg, especially if you'll really feel it more if you have that foot flexed. Slowly kind of press yourself back up. We're going to stay on this side, and if you happen to have a strap, this can come in handy, taking it around the bottom of your foot. If you do not have a strap, you can absolutely just use a towel for this, just kind of taking it around the bottom of your foot. All we're doing is bringing our ankle up onto our knee, just kind of a seated pigeon here. If that feels good. If that does not feel good, if you are feeling that in your knee at all, then do not do that. Just kind of take your foot like on its side and just kind of think about like pressing that knee away. You're looking for a nice stretch here and the outside of that hip on the top leg. So we're going to hang out here for a few breaths. If it feels good, you can bend over to get a little bit more of a stretch, but only if it feels good. You should not feel this in your knees at all. If you do, then put your foot back on the floor and do it the other way that I showed you. And pressing back up, releasing that foot down on the floor. We're just going to do the same thing on the other side, extending the opposite leg out long. Really think about flexing those toes back towards your face. Just kind of bending over here, hinging at the hips. If it feels good, you can hang out here, just resting your arm on your leg. If you're looking for a little bit more, just bend forward. Let your hands Rest on the floor. Maybe let your head be heavy. We'll hang out here for a few breaths. And kind of slowly walking up. And we're going to do that seated pigeon on the other side using a towel or a strap if you need to lift your ankle up onto that knee. Remember, if you feel this, remember each side of your body is different. So just because it felt good on the other side doesn't mean it won't feel good on this side, or just because it didn't feel good on the other side does not mean that it won't feel good on this side. Each side of our body is different. So remember, if you're feeling this in your knee, you're just going to take that foot on the floor, kind of angling it out on the side, and think about kind of pressing that knee. You're just looking for a nice stretch in that the hip of that top leg. And if that's feeling pretty good, you can hinge forward a little bit just to kind of increase the stretch there in that hip. This is one of my favorites. And slowly we're just going to press back up. Maybe one last thing to do together here is just kind of some of those big ankle rolls. Just moving in one direction and then changing the circle and moving it into the other direction. And then doing the same thing on the other side. And changing the direction of the circle. Coming back up, sit up nice and tall. Let's take one more final breath together. Inhaling as we raise our arms up overhead. Exhaling, bring our arms back down by our side. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you feel better after having moved your body for a little bit, and hopefully we can meet together in person soon. Take care.